Good morning, guys. Sean Bougie here. There's something I've been wanting to cover with everyone for some time, and this has to do with if you have someone that's deceased that's a deed holder. Okay, so it's basically survivorship, heirship, whatever you want to call it. Before I get into that, I need to give you guys some context of what's going on nationally, where we're at. First of all, most people don't have a will, and by the way, if you don't and you have kids, shame on you. Go get a will, or even if you can't afford it, I know it's expensive, do the rocket lawyer thing or whatever you can do online for pretty cheap. They're state specific. Do something, okay? Especially if you have kids, set up your guardianship, something happens to you and your spouse, or if you're the sole person in charge of the kids, guardian of the kids. Set it up so that it automatically who's going to end up with your kids. Otherwise, the state's going to become the ward and people are going to have to fight over it, okay? Set that up. Also set up division of assets, anything like that. I know a lot of people out there right now are going, I don't have any money. I've got $1,500 in the bank. I'm barely making it. I'm scraping by. By the way, this is normal, okay? I don't have any money. I'm scraping by. Barely got any money at all to my name. All I've got is this house I've got, and I've got a mortgage on that. Yeah, but you've got equity, probably in that home. You've got something. So figure out who's going to be your executor of your will. Figure all that out. Okay, enough with that. Here's what you need to understand. And this first step is going to help a million people out there. I know. I want you to see it. If you are married, or if you are sharing a home, if you both are on a deed, okay? Make sure, if you want the other person, if you were to die, to automatically get your property, make sure your deed is set up one of two ways. In a lot of states, if it has both of your names and you're married, and it says John and Judy Smith, husband and wife, or married. In most states, when one of you dies, that transfers to the other one outside of probate, outside of an estate. That means you don't have to open up an estate file to at least move the property into the other person's name. All you normally have to do, honestly, I would pay for it, pay an attorney to record the deed just under your name if your spouse died. Pay an attorney to do that, guys, because the court's going to want to see a certified copy of the death certificate, and the attorney can set all that up for you. And it's usually not expensive at all. Excuse me. So have that done upon the death of your spouse. Even if you don't do the estate or the probate, have that done. Also, guys, even if you're not married, you can set that deed up, John Smith and Terry Klein, whatever, comma, joint tenants with rights of survivorship. Tenancy in common with rights of survivorship. That automatically gives it to the other person upon your death. That's awesome. Goes right outside of probate or estate. We'll give you a quick example. Neighbor across the street, no kidding, a couple of years ago, didn't have it set up that way. Okay, it was just in his name. When he passed, did not have a will. Okay. The deed was just in his name. And even though they had married, okay, when he died, she got, North Carolina, she got half plus a certain other percentage. Let's call it 3/4 of whatever he owned, which meant she had to sell the property to give the other 1/4%, the other 25% interest in the property. In order to satisfy that and come up with the money to pay them what they were due as far as what was owed on her, or rather the equity in the property, she had to sell it. She had to move just to make that happen. Had they recorded that deed, husband and wife, or joint tenants with rights of survivorship, would have never gone to the kids. Would have gone straight to her. It wouldn't have gone to his kids from a previous marriage. Okay? So, and they didn't play. They took their cut and said, see ya, we don't care about you. So, want to bring that all up in front. Now, applying this to overage recovery, surplus funds recovery, and flipping property, a couple things you need to know. If you're flipping property, obviously you haven't bought it yet, right? You're looking at it. If it's got that joint tenancy or tenancy with rights to survive, anything rights to survivorship or husband and wife, double check with an attorney, husband and wife, usually when it says husband and wife or married with right after their name, it'll automatically transfer. However, you're still going to have to get a certified copy of that death certificate. The survivor will probably have that, whoever's still alive. That person is the only person that's surviving. If there's joint tenancy with rights of survivorship or husband and wife or married, and it's in a state that considers that joint tenancy with rights of survivorship, all you need is a deed from that survivor and you're good. Okay? They can deed it to you, get a copy, certified copy of that death certificate, because it's going to come up in title work when you flip the property. Okay? Here's the second way to apply this, and that's with overages or surplus funds. Now, here's where it gets hairy. It matters when they died, okay? If they died prior to the foreclosure or the tax deed auction, and it was a joint tenants with rights to survivorship or husband and wife, and the state said, yeah, that's rights to survivorship, that means the property transferred into the other person's name upon the one that died, upon the decedent's death, transferred into the survivor's name. Is if that happened prior to the foreclosure or tax deed sale, then the person that it transferred into their name, they had full ownership at the time of the auction or tax deed sale. They're entitled to the money. Period. Okay? Period. I'm going to do another video on this, probably, because there's too much to cover. But that's the person you need to talk to. You're going to need a certified copy of that death certificate, but that's the person that can sign off and you can claim the surplus funds for, overages for, whatever. Here's where it gets hinky. It's 2019 when I'm recording this. You're working a 2017 case is when it foreclosed, right? So it forecloses in 2017. Even if it's joint tenancy with rights of survivorship, let's say that it's sold at auction January 1st, 2019. And let's say it's John and Jerry Smith, and John dies February 1st of 2019. And it's a husband and wife, joint tenants. It did not transfer before they lost ownership. Understand that? Didn't transfer. It was in both their names at the time of the sale. And even though it's joint tenants rights of survivorship, what's the issue here? The rights of survivorship clause wasn't kicked in before they lost the property. What does that mean? If he had kids before that foreclosure or auction, if he had kids from previous marriage, whatever, that weren't hers, they're also entitled to a piece of that money. His half is divided up as the normal, however it is normal in that state, because the ownership did not transfer before they lost the house. You get me? That's important. So the time of death for the person that died, the decedent, the date is extremely important. Extremely important. Literally to the point, guys, and I'm not trying to make fun or anything else, but let's say the auction was final at 1:02 p.m. or depending on the state how they run it, the property was transferred at 1:02 p.m. Okay? If the guy died at 1 o'clock, rights of survivorship kicked in. If the guy died at 1:03, it didn't. Extremely important for you to understand that with overage recovery, okay? I've got some other points I want to make, but I'll probably do that in a longer video. If you guys like this information, please let me know. There's reasons we don't handle estates and probate usually. And one of the things I want to say before I sign off, I'm at the 9-minute mark here, before I sign off is, one of the reasons that you don't see, most people don't open an estate file when somebody dies. There's a couple of reasons for that. Unfortunately, the main reason we've encountered that an estate file was never opened is because someone else had controlled that checkbook to take care of mom and dad or whatever, and they don't want to open the estate because if they do, they have to put all the records out there. And they've been hitting the checking account pretty hard, buying things for themselves or taking money out. So that's Unfortunately, guys, it's really sad, but that's the main reason we see estate files and probate, whatever you want to call it, probate file not opened. Um, that's important. Also, a will is a will, just so you know, even if it's not recorded with the county. I know everything else has to be recorded, but if a will was executed and witnessed, notarized, whatever the particular state laws are, usually it's witnessed and notarized, even if it was not recorded with the county, and most times they are not, it counts. I mean, I can tell you, my will is in a fire safe hidden where my brother, who's the executor of my will, can go get it. He knows exactly where it is. He knows where the key is, and he can go open that will. He also has a copy of it, not a certified copy or anything like that, but a copy of it so he knows what it contains. One of the things that I did with my will is I put it in to where basically everything is under his control. And then if I want to change the way I want him to disperse it, I simply send him an email and say, hey, Anthony, update. I want to change who gets the house. Because he's the executor, has full right to decide what to do. I can actually just update as I go with him, and he knows what my wishes are. Hope all this has helped. I'll do a more in-depth video later. Comment in the sections below. If you want to get involved with overage recovery or flipping property where you can team up with us, use our money, and make a ton of money, by the way. Go to surplusfundsriches.com, click on the products, get one of our programs there. You can also, on the right side of that page, there's a link to our Facebook page. You can get involved with that, and you can come to free webinars. You can also sign in to get our Insider's Guide. Please also like this channel and like this video and comment. I'd love your comments. Thanks.